Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the 2022 RISE Conference. In a March 1983 radio address, President Reagan reflected his view on the state of education in America, saying, quote, "We've always had a love affair with learning in this country. America is a melting pot, and education has been a mainspring for our democracy and freedom, a means of providing gifts of knowledge and opportunity to all citizens, no matter how humble their background, so they could climb higher, help build the American dream, and leave a better life for those who follow." This week, we gather for the 5th Annual Reagan Institute Summit on Education. Many will participate from our brand new Reagan Institute building in Washington, D.C. Others will join us from across the country. Wherever or however you're joining us, you're here because you share that view, that education is a mainspring for our democracy and freedom. Democracy and freedom have been tested in recent years, both at home and abroad. It is clearer than ever that an educated citizenry, or informed patriotism, as President Reagan would have said, is critical to our democracy's future here and around the world. Providing that education, though, has become even more complicated. The very fact that this year's conference is hybrid is a pointed reminder of the challenges that our teachers, students, and administrators have endured these past 2.5 years. The pandemic has changed education. It has introduced new ways of learning, but it has also deepened inequities, exposed shortcomings, and sparked new debates. But above all, it has proven an age-old truth that education is about connection. Education is about connecting young people with new ideas and valued traditions. It's about building meaningful connections between students and teachers, connections that are possible in 2 dimensions, but far more impactful in 3 dimensions. And in the most literal sense, it's about the infrastructure and broadband connections that students and teachers need for modern learning, both in the classroom and at home. This year's summit, titled Networked, the Quest for Connectivity, will delve into all of these dimensions. But there's another kind of connection that should be on our minds, and that's the connections among the leaders and lawmakers, parents and educators that set educational priorities and policies. Students are counting on us to stay connected and committed to their success, not to retreat into opposing camps or wall ourselves off from one another. When healthy debates over education devolve into ideological fights, when our schools become political flashpoints, when partisans make education their battleground, it's our children who will, in the end, lose out. That's why the Reagan Institute brings together people whose ideas and philosophies may differ, but who share the view that education must rise above the divisiveness of the day. We're welcoming numerous governors and lieutenant governors, past and present, Republican and Democrat. We also have current and former leaders in federal and state departments of education who have served in administrations of both parties. We're welcoming leaders from academia and business. And we are especially honored to feature a first-of-its-kind conversation between Supreme Court Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Amy Coney Barrett. In education, everyone is a stakeholder. That's because the strength of our education system depends upon the strength of our economy and our very democracy. To ensure the well-being of our families, to revive our economy and restore trust in our democracy, we need to rediscover that love affair with learning of which President Reagan spoke. After all, as he said, we're talking about no less than the future of this nation. So welcome to the Reagan Institute Summit on Education. We're grateful for the chance to spend this week to connect with you.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. As you heard, my name is Roger Zakheim. I have the distinct honor of serving as the director of the Reagan Institute here in Washington, D.C. We're thrilled to have all of you in our building here today, and those joining us virtually as well. Fred referenced that 1983 radio address that President Reagan gave. I want to draw from it as well here this morning. President Reagan said on that day, quote, "For the sake of all our children, our country, and our future, we must join together in a national campaign to restore excellence in American education. At home, in school, in state government, and at the federal level, we must make sure we have put our children first and that their education is a top priority," end quote. Well, according to a study by Pew Research in May of 2022, education is far from a top priority in our country right now. In fact, it ranks 7th of 12 issues behind inflation, healthcare, crime, gun violence, the deficit, and climate change. Now, I'd imagine that if the same poll were taken in this room, education would claim its rightful spot atop the list. And I think it's really reflective of what Fred just shared, because we know education is really at the root of solving and addressing all of those issues. You see, you all know the essential importance of education and its connection to all these policy issues our country faces. The theme of our summit, as you heard, is Network, the Quest for Connectivity. And on one hand, as you heard, we'll examine the literal sense of connectivity through broadband and infrastructure, for example, connecting students to vast stores of knowledge and learning available online. But in the wake of the global pandemic, connectivity is also about the ways in which students, teachers, and families connect to one another. It is a connection between the present and the future. And the intersecting connections between the home, the community, the country, and the world when it comes to the importance of education. We'll explore all of that. But finally, is about the quest to raise awareness of the connectivity between nearly every other area of public policy. Economic issues are education issues. Healthcare issues are education issues. Workforce issues are education issues. So today, we're excited to welcome some of the most brilliant minds in education to the RISE stage. We hope that you hear some opinions and solutions that you firmly agree with, as well as some opinions that you have that you may reconsider. While the RISE initiative acknowledges stark political differences in today's landscape, we believe an American coalition exists that can provide policies to further the common goal of building and maintaining a world-class education system that prepares children to become engaged citizens and ensures American competitiveness into the 22nd century. As students return to school this fall, we hope that the conversations hosted here at RISE 2022, both on and off stage, will guide Americans into an era of productive change. We are grateful that you were able to join us for this important bipartisan gathering of the education community. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome the first panel to the stage. Introducing our panelists, we have Janelle DeRay, Assistant Secretary of Education Roberto Rodriguez, and Mr. Manny Lamar. Welcome to the stage.